Cel shading is a technique that makes something look like from a comic book. And in this video, you are going to learn exactly that. Let's start by giving a definition of our technique. Basically, cel shading or toon shading is a technique that lets your painting appear flat, to mimic the style of a comic book or cartoon and give everything a paper-like texture. But Sergey, how do I paint like that? Don't worry, I have got you covered. The thing that is great about cel shading and makes it beginner friendly is that you just need a couple of colors and you don't have to worry about smooth layers or wet blending at all. It is all about contrast and not smooth transitions. And trust me, you are going to have a lot of fun. You start with priming the miniature black, position it on your table and choose a light source. Then you take a couple of pictures from all sides. These are going to be our reference pictures while painting. I got this little trick from Zumikitos 5-minute non-metal metallic tutorial. And it's so great, I do it all the time. After you got all the photos, you can prime everything in a more related color, since we need the black only for the light source. Then you base coat every surface before moving on. And now you have to decide if you want to put all your layers on all the different areas at the same time. Or if you would like to finish one part completely and then move on to the next one. I would suggest the first. Place the first layer on every surface and move on to the second afterwards. Painting very clear lines next to your previous layer, while painting less and less surface with each layer. Overall, I would suggest to paint about 3 to 5 different layers on each surface. Painting that way, you have control of all your highlight areas and can avoid any mistakes easily. Make sure you don't paint too many bright areas. Decide which area is the brightest and then keep it that way. The miniature we are going to paint is from Nom Nom Figures. You can get it by joining their Patreon. In this case, Warpstone Glow is our base coat, and for the second layer we mix it with some mood green in a 50-50 ratio. Then we use pure mood green for the next layer. And for the final layer we mix in some Aerial Yellow into our mood green to get a very vibrant color. We don't use Aerial Yellow on its own. And while painting, I always look at the reference picture, which helps me to get my layers right. And now just repeat the steps on the other areas of the miniature using the colors we mentioned before. After all your layers are finished, you can decide to just stop painting, leave your miniature and call it a day, or you can move on with the black lining. But be aware, once you start blacklining, there is no going back. If the miniature looks bad with the first black lines, I would highly suggest to keep pushing and painting until you are finished. It will look good in the end, trust me. I would advise to pick a test piece and practice some black lines before you move on to your actual miniature. It is very important for this step to pick the right size of brush or pen and get the right color consistency. For edge highlighting, we want our color a little bit thicker. If it's too watered down, it might spill all over the place. Now you have to edge highlight the edges and paint all the outlines in pure black. Of course, that can be pretty difficult since we are painting with literally black and every mistake is clearly visible. But don't worry, you can fix all the mistakes using a base coat later on. Another thing I would like to mention is that you don't have to paint every single line. If you do so, the miniature can look quite aggressive and overwhelming. I would definitely paint all the big outlines and then decide on each detail separately. If you want to paint in a different style than cel shading, check out my video about dry brushing. I think it will fit this miniature wonderful. I need a good song. Misha, play the good stuff. I'm Sergey, this is my mini quest, and now it's yours.